Are you serious? That was my first reaction seeing the interior of the 2023 Acura Integra. Today we're gonna find out if this thing is worth the money over the Civic Si, because technically shares a lot with the Civic Si. Should you buy this? And why is this more expensive than the Civic Si? That's the goal. For today's video, special thanks goes to Performance Acura North Mississauga, an Acura dealership located in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. They were kind enough to allow me to borrow this, review it, and show you what it's all about. And most importantly, this video is not sponsored by this dealership. If you want to know more about them, you know where to find the link. The first reason why you'd buy this is because maybe your father owned one and then passed it on to you, or maybe you own one yourself, and therefore you have that emotional connection with the Integra. Let's start first with the exterior. The good news is that the Integra model was developed in Japan, but it's the first of its kind to be built in America, specifically in Ohio. It's only available as a 5-door liftback body style, also called the coupe style, like for example the BMW Grand Coupe or the Mercedes CLA, which this Integra competes against. Next is the front end. Although this may look very similar to the ILX, it is more aggressive. It has this beautiful grille, blacked out, then the headlights, which have the daylight running lights chicane style. Absolutely love that. And most importantly, they want to make sure that the incoming traffic knows that this is an Integra, therefore they have the stamped Integra letters located underneath only driver's side headlight. What I love about this is that it has a very sporty fascia at the front, and most importantly, there are a few quirks. For example, we have the side of the fender, which is actually functional for the air to flow through. On top of that, inside the headlight, it has the stamped Acura logo, which again, a little detail. Then move on to the top side of the headlight, which has the racing flag style right on top of the daylight running light. Another little detail of the Integra. Another thing that separates the Integra from the Civic Si is the fact that this offers two-wheel options in Canada. You can get a 17-inch setup or an 18-inch, which the Civic Si offers the 18-inch wheels. In the US, I believe you have the option to pick also 19-inch. And if you are a fan of the blue color, guess what? The Integra offers the Apex blue for the exterior color. Another tech feature that this offers is reverse side mirrors tilt. So basically, when you put it in reverse, the mirrors tilt. That's something you're missing in the Civic Si, and it also has the side blinkers for the mirrors. Now, another little detail added to the Integra at the rear end is, of course, the stamped logo located under the taillight. But in this case, in the front, it's on the left side of the vehicle. At the back is actually on the right side, which is the passenger side. On top of that, inside the actual taillight, we have the Acura badge. Just a little detail. Another thing with the Integra is the fact that this is actually longer than the Si, but the wheelbase is the same. And this is also wider, which means this gives you more space. Technically more space in the trunk. As you can see, it can fit in perfectly. Look at that.
Want to close it?
Maybe I can. Almost. Actually, yeah. If it didn't have this, I can actually close it. Are you still recording? Oh man. Oh, hold on. We got the LS Studio 3D. Man, this is a big subwoofer. Love that. Let me try to get out. There we go. My impressions overall about the exterior of the Integra. First of all, absolutely love the front end, although it does look a bit like an ILX, but my favorite out of everything in this car is actually the rear end. It is sporty, it is aggressive, and specifically with the A-Spec, you get the beautiful black diffuser, and with this, of course, you got a single exhaust on each side. I like the design, I like the rear end more than I like the front end. Let's jump into the interior. Let's talk about the second row. The first thing you need to know is the fact that this offers leather interior. And unlike the Si, where the color is different in the front compared to the rear end, this actually is pretty static, the same thing as the front. Next thing you need to know is it has 2 USB ports over here, and it uses 3-level heated seats for both passengers at the back. In terms of space, I have set the seat in the front as if I was a driver. I'm 6'2", so I'm taller than the average individual. It's nice and comfortable. We don't have a full panoramic roof, but it does have one sunroof at the front, which you can manually open the sunshades and automatically actually open the sunroof. Then we have the center part here, the armrest with 2 cup holders. Other than that, pretty standard, nice and comfortable. Easy to come in, easy to get out. Now let's talk about the first row, the driver's cockpit, and of course the passenger side. Although this may look very familiar, like the Civic Si, it is a bit different. First is the quality. It's everything in the inside here feels different in comparison to the Civic Si. You got the beautiful leather here, the seats. This has the A-Spec, which uses a suede and leather seats, powered most importantly for the driver and the passenger, and bolster adjustment. You can tell there is a difference in terms of quality, the build, the finish. Although the switches here in the center for the climate are pretty much like a Civic, but the difference is on the driver's cockpit. We have the heads-up display for the driver, something you're missing in the Civic Si. Also a digital cluster, which is similar to what you find in the MDX, for example, or the TLX Type S. The steering wheel, again, very similar to the Civic. The difference is how it's designed. For example, the airbag, and then we have the A-Spec badge located under. Then this also has heated steering wheel, something that the Civic Si offers as well. The model that we have right now uses the CVT, which is the automatic transmission. Yes, we're going to talk about that, how it drives. We'll take it for a drive, and we'll talk about specifically how it shifts and so on. Then we have, of course, the powered wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. This uses paddle shifters onto the steering wheel, nice and finished, although they're plastic, but they're not full aluminum. Let's talk about the cluster. On the left side, you can use the actual switches to change a lot of things. You can customize the display as well. You can add a lot of information. And on the right side, it also shows you more. We have the fuel range. You have the heads-up display. This is equipped with a heads-up display, so you can adjust that, the brightness, the actual safety support as well. You have, of course, the maintenance, tire pressure, and so on. So you got some information here. And what I love in the center is when you press the brakes, the little icon that shows the car, it also shows the lights, the top light, and the actual tail lights. I like that, just a little detail. And then we'll move on to the actual infotainment display, which it is touchscreen, very similar to what you see in the Civic. Technically the size as well is pretty much the same. Built-in navigation system. Most importantly, you have connectivity like wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. And then we have the smartphone connection as well. Acura Link, which is very important. Vehicle settings and all that. Just the basic. It's not super different from the Civic Si. It is equipped with different driving modes, and most importantly, it has individual. And if you hold the button and press, it shows in here you can change for the engine, the steering, suspension, idle, stop, and gauges as well. And in terms of the driving modes, we have normal, sport, and comfort. So you got 3 modes, similar to what you find on the Civic Si. The difference is this has the individual, which changes quite a lot, and most importantly, it shows the full Acura Integra, so that you know you're driving an Integra. It is also equipped with 16-speaker ELS Studio 3D. The Civic Si has the Bose system. This is more clear, and you can see the actual subwoofer at the back. Then move on to the actual settings for the seat. You have 2 memory seats for the driver's side, and most importantly, at the bottom over here, you have power seats for the driver and the passenger. The difference is that this also has the bolster adjustment, so that gives you better comfort. You can find the right position as a driver. Now that we've talked about everything that this offers, it's time to take this for a spin and talk about the pricing, the engine, and most importantly, how does it handle on the road and how different it is from the Civic Si. So let's go for a drive. This uses the same engine as the Civic Si. 1.5 liter, makes about 200 horsepower. It's a front-wheel drive. The beautiful thing is that it does come with limited slip differential and adaptive suspension system. Yes. So that really helps and sets it apart with the Civic Si. But the other thing that you need to know about this is that it does have a CVT, and in Canada, I was told 50% of the orders were automatics, meanwhile 50 were manual. This does offer a 6-speed manual transmission, which is similar to what you'd find in the Civic Si. The difference is that Civic Si does not offer an automatic transmission. This is technically a CVT. Now, how is the CVT? Well, let me give you a quick spin, and I'm going to push it for you so that I can show you as we're taking the paved highway. it's nice. It's not bad at all. It actually drives better than a standard Civic. The suspension feels stiff when you switch it to sport mode, which I have it right now, and you can change the transmission into sport mode as well. In terms of driving experience, the car feels very different. And the beautiful thing is that I recently drove the Civic Si, so I have a fresh memory how that car drives. In this case, I know a bit more about like the driving experience in terms of the comfort. This is quiet inside in comparison to that. You don't hear the road noise as much, hence why it's a bit heavier because of that sound isolation that they had to do on this. But it does feel different than the Si in terms of the driving experience. It feels more comfortable and stiff when you're pushing it, when you have it sport mode mostly. The transmission feels nice. You have paddle shifters, like you can put it into manual mode. It has a sport manual mode. What I do like the most about it is how quiet it is inside. In terms of the driving assistant package, where we have like the blind spot assist, it had lane assist, gap assist as well. I like this. I like how it drives, and I see why anyone would buy this. First of all, you have that bit of luxury inside. You have the option to get an automatic because not everyone in North America drives a manual. So keep that in mind, which is something that the Civic Si doesn't. I would personally get the manual because I drove the manual and I think it is a better option. I do think that this is gonna sell very well. And another reason I say that is that as I was in today doing this review, one of the sales guys actually sold 3 of them, which is pretty good for one day. I have people coming in and out and checking it out. I like this thing. I like how it drives. It's comfortable. And the beautiful thing is that although in terms of the pricing, this starts at about $35,000, $36,000 Canadian for the base model, goes up to like $42,000, $43,000. The Civic Si you can get in Canada about $33,000. In the US, the Civic Si starts at about $27,300. Meanwhile, the Integra starts at about $29,000, $30,000 or so, which is not a huge difference, but it's justifiable to have that difference because you get more premium interior in this. You get more tech features, as we spoke before. Not that I want to repeat myself on those. That's the beauty of this. What is the disappointing part about this car? Well, first of all, I wish there was a Type S version of it. That would have been really cool. And in fact, people are staring at this as I'm driving on a highway and normal roads. Maybe it's because I have cameras outside as well. But I did notice even without the cameras outside, they're looking at it. It's fresh. So people do want to see it, what it is. And of course, the ones that know about it. I think they've done a great job with this. I think there's something special here. I couldn't find anything specific that I didn't like about this car. Just the Type S parts. I think that's one thing that would make this absolutely perfect, because then you'd have those people that have that attachment with the Type S to actually, purchase that. I would buy something like that, just spicier, a bit more power would be a bit more interesting, because then you have competitors out there like the BMW Grand Coupe, then you have the Audi S4, S3, then you have the Mercedes CLA, and then you have the Mercedes A-Class that can be compared. I think the CLA is the closest one to this, but they're all very high up in price. So they're all costly in comparison to this. So you're gonna pay more for those, of course. The Germans are always higher in price. So that's a very competitive market for the Acura Integra, because now it's going up against the Germans, although it might not in some cases offer the same features as the Germans. But for example, if I had to pick between this or the BMW Grand Coupe, which I drove and reviewed, I would take this. The Grand Coupe is not very good looking. This, on the other hand, it's a bit spicy, and I like the A-Spec package on it. It's a nice one. I like it. Now, let's talk about the Easteregg. The Easteregg is basically located in the glove box here. There is the mat that covers the bottom part, and if I reach for it, I should be able to show you exactly what it is. So if you pull that out, I was looking for it, and it says, it's this one here. So this is the Easteregg, and the Easteregg, basically what it says is that the Civic history goes on, and it actually has the Civic in there, because technically the Integra was a Civic initially, the Acura in this case, and it actually says Honda. So this is the rubber mat. Pretty cool, eh?